What's good, YouTube? It's your boy, Blue Blood Sports TV, back at y'all with another one. So, we have some unfortunate news regarding a massive showdown at super middleweight between undefeated two-time super middleweight WBC world champion Mexican superstar boxer David Benavidez, who is 25 wins, no loss, and no draw, 22 big wins by way of knockout, 25 years of age, 6'2", 6'1" with a 75-inch arm reach. Okay, David Benavidez, he will be facing off against David LEMIEUX for the essentially vacant WBC interim title that's going to be vacated by four-division world champion Mexican superstar boxer, who's currently the undisputed super middleweight, widely considered the face of the sport of boxing, top 3 pound for pound, if not number 1 pound for pound best fighter in the world, in Saul Canelo Alvarez. Canelo Alvarez, 57 wins, 1 loss, 2 draws. Canelo Alvarez is 39 wins by way of knockout, 31 years of age, 5'8" with a 70-inch arm reach. Okay, with that said, Canelo Alvarez is uncertain what his next move is going to be. He holds all 4 major sanction belts. He holds the Ring Magazine, the lineal ship to the super middleweight division. So he is the man to beat in the super middleweight division, right? David Benavidez, he lost his WBC title on a scale. So with that said, David Benavidez is going to fight David LEMIEUX for the WBC interim title. And once Canelo Alvarez vacates those titles, more than likely is what he's going to do. There's talks that Canelo Alvarez could face off against undefeated 2-division world champion, who currently is the reigning WBC middleweight world champion, superstar boxer Jermall Lyons Only Charlo. Jermall Charlo is 32 wins, no loss, no draw, 22 big wins by way of knockout, 31 years of age, 6 foot tall with a 74-inch arm reach. It looks like that's going to take place possibly Cinco de Mayo weekend, May 7th weekend. Canelo Alvarez defending his titles. If not, there's talks that Canelo Alvarez is going to go back up to light heavyweight, where he already won the WBO title against Sergey Crusher Kovalev, and he's going to possibly go back up to light heavyweight, and face off against, undefeated WBA light heavyweight world champion, Russian superstar boxer Dmitry Bivol. So if he does that, he's going to more than likely vacate his titles. But there's also talk that he could come back down to 68 and fight reigning middleweight 2-time world champion the Gennady Triple G Golovkin in a trilogy match. So with that said, it's uncertain what Canelo Alvarez's future at super middleweight is going to be. But there's another guy that's coming up to super middleweight. He's the undefeated 2-division world champion. He's the reigning WBO middleweight world champion, who's vacating his titles to come up and be the WBO mandatory challenger at super middleweight, and that's undefeated superstar boxer Demetrius Andrade. 31 wins, no losses, no draws, 19 wins by way of knockout. Demetrius Andrade is 33 years of age, 6 foot tall with a 74-inch arm reach. Okay, so there's talks that Demetrius Andrade can be making his debut, against Zach Parker at the super middleweight division, okay, in his next fight. And then he and David Benavidez, they verbally agreed to face off against one another next after their respective interim title fights, okay? And David Benavidez, he stated he's tired of all the talking and going back and forth on social media and in interviews. He wants to make these fights happen. He stated that he understands that Demetrius Andrade is a great champion. He's a great fighter. He's slick. He's southpaw. He's awkward. Very fast hands, very athletic. But David Benavidez, he stated, I believe I have what it takes to beat Demetrius Andrade. Okay. And Demetrius Andrade, he's looking for big fights. He's been seeking out a fight with Canelo Alvarez, Jermall Charlo for quite some time. And now Demetrius Andrade and his promoter, Matchroom CEO and promoter Eddie Hearn, and DAZN, Eddie Hearn, he stated that if this is a fight that David Benavidez wants, we don't even have to have the interim fight. We could fight right now. But if he wants to wait till after the interim fight, we'll gladly make that fight happen after the interim fights. So let's make it happen. So essentially, they responded to David Benavidez. Essentially, they called his bluff. And Demetrius Andrade is willing to take the fight ASAP. And now unfortunately, you have guys who are not physically getting in the ring. You have guys who are not physically competing in the sport of boxing. You have the managers and promoters playing too big of a part in the sport instead of playing their part. Okay, you're not getting enough managers and enough promoters playing their part instead of playing the part of the fighter. Okay, and so SAMPSON LEMIEUX, his promoter, that being David Benavidez promoter, who essentially prevented David Benavidez from fighting against Caleb Sweethand Plant. Now you get SAMPSON LEMIEUX, he's coming out and he's stating that in order for David Benavidez to agree to fight Demetrius Andrade, first off, he started this by saying David Benavidez is not fighting Demetrius Andrade. And then secondly, he stated that in order for David Benavidez to agree to a fight with Demetrius Andrade, Demetrius Andrade and Eddie Hearn has to give David Benavidez a career high payday. He has to make a career high payday if he's going to fight Demetrius Andrade. Other than that, he's not fighting Demetrius Andrade. He needs upwards of $10 million to fight Demetrius Andrade. This is ironic because David Benavidez is a guy who's stating that he wants to fight any and everybody. Okay, you have his father, trainer and manager, Jose Benavidez Sr., you know, saying the same things. They want to fight everybody. Okay, they've been calling out Canelo Alvarez forever and a day, and they stated that Canelo Alvarez has been avoiding them. Okay, again, David Benavidez, he just did an interview in which he stated that he's tired of all the talking on social media. He wants to have the best fighting the best. He wants to absolutely fight the best. Okay, he's been calling out Jermall Charlo for relentlessly for over a year now, since Jermall Charlo made some comments that he would knock out David Benavidez because David Benavidez lacks all defense and can't take what he's dishing out over 12 rounds, and eventually he'll stop David Benavidez. So David Benavidez has been aggressively calling out Jermall Charlo. Okay, and you have you know, he's a Mexican superstar boxer who's stating that, you know, he would love to have, you know, the Mexican showdown, all Mexican showdown with Canelo Alvarez. Canelo Alvarez always fights on Cinco de Mayo weekend, Mexican Independence Day weekend. And so he stated that he wanted to, you know, fight Canelo Alvarez on those days, and that Canelo Alvarez is not showing the heart of a Mexican fighter. And now you're letting your promoter, see, here's the problem. Because you can't let your promoters and managers speak for you publicly without you responding to their comments. Okay, you have the same situation going on, essentially, with newly crowned unified lightweight world champion, Australian star boxer, George Kambosos Jr. Okay, George Kambosos Jr. has stated that it's about legacy and entertaining the fans. It's not about money. But yet, as soon as he enters negotiation for an undisputed showdown with undefeated WBC lightweight world champion superstar boxer Devin the Dream Haney, it suddenly becomes about money and his promoter Lou DiBella getting the biggest money fight they possibly can. Okay, so they are making the fighters look like they're contradicting themselves. You have these managers and promoters making the fighters look bad because the fighters are saying one thing: or we'll fight anybody, we'll fight for free, a la former unified welterweight world champion superstar boxer Keith one-time Thurman. Oh, we'll fight for free. We fought for free in the amateurs. Well, then when Keith Thurman's talking about a fight with Terrence Crawford, now Keith Thurman's talking about it has to make the most business sense. So you're saying one thing, but when it comes down to the nitty-gritty, your body language and your heart is saying a completely different thing. Okay, so now David Benavidez is somebody that's veered to fight any and everybody. But now his promoter, SAMPSON LEMIEUX, is saying that he has to get his career high payday to fight Demetrius Andrade. But you said you will fight Canelo Alvarez for free. Now, obviously, we know this is called prize fighting. So obviously, he's not going to fight Canelo Alvarez for free. But the fans want to see the best fight the best. And you're already putting a roadblock in between a major fight that should be taking place. So now you're going to have a situation where you want Eddie Hearn and Demetrius Andrade to overly pay David Benavidez for his services. It shows a lack of confidence. It shows a lack of confidence. This wasn't how it was in the past. You know, you looked at Floyd Mayweather, and I always use him because he's on the highest scale. He was already a 4-division world champion. He was already a pay-per-view star. He was already a pound-for-pound King by the time he fought Oscar De La Hoya, but Floyd Mayweather understood that Oscar De La Hoya was the cash cow. He was the A side. And Floyd Mayweather knew that Oscar De La Hoya was already Olympic gold medalist, a 5-division world champion, a Mexican superstar boxer, and a pay-per-view cash cow. So Floyd Mayweather took every disadvantage just to fight Oscar De La Hoya that was there, because he understood, once I beat Oscar De La Hoya, I'm going to be in position to call the shots, and I'm going to be the automatic A side. So he took a 70-30 split. He was already a 4-division world champion. Obviously, he was undefeated because he retired undefeated. He was already considered a pay-per-view star, not a superstar, but pay-per-view star. He was already considered the pound-for-pound best fighter in the world, he and Roy Jones Jr., and he took a 70-30 split. He fought Oscar De La Hoya at a weight class he's never fought at 154. He let Oscar De La Hoya choose his gloves and the ring size and location and date for the fight, just because he bet on himself. And here you have David Benavidez. He needs to put a sock in Samson Lickiewicz's mouthpiece. He needs to step up and tell Samson, no, you work for me. See, the problem is these managers and promoters are competing with each other as if they are getting in the squared circle, and they're not. And they're shortchanging the people, the consumers, who keep this fight, who keep this sport oiled and rolling and moving. And they slight the fans and dismiss the fans and the consumers. The managers, promoters don't get in the ring. How does Samson Lickiewicz's come out and say that David Benavidez ain't fighting Demetrius Andrade unless he gets a career high payday? Who are you to say that? You work for David Benavidez. He don't work for you. That's the problem in the sport of boxing. And David Benavidez needs to come out and respond to this and let Samson Lickiewicz's know. Just like most recently we had Shelly Finkel come out and speak on a part of Deontay Wilder, and Deontay Wilder said, listen, no, I don't have to fight. I don't have to do anything. We need David Benavidez to come out and respond to this on behalf of himself, because your promoter is making you look bad. Your promoter made you look bad in a situation with Caleb Plant when he said you needed a career high payday and you wasn't ready for Caleb Plant. But yet you continuously, relentlessly, you and your father call out Caleb Plant. And here we have another situation where the slick boxer is starting to look like your promoter and your manager don't want to match you up against certain styles because he don't feel confident that you could be victorious. So let's see how this unfolds and plays out. But that's all I got for y'all. Make sure you hit the like button. Drop a comment in the comment section. Let me know what y'all think. Y'all already know what it is. It's your boy Blue, Blue Blood Sports TV. Hate, like, comment, and subscribe. You haven't subscribed, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, hit the bell icon to get all the new notifications. Follow me on Instagram at Blue Blood Sports TV, all one word. Y'all already know what it is. Shout out to the entire LDBC. Shout out to New Media. Shout out to Black Media Row. Make sure you like and share these videos. That's all I got for y'all. Peace.